We're going to move on to The Guardian now with a look into the Queen's political influence over the Scottish. Lewis, what's this about?
Well, this is something that's shocking to me, is that you always think the Queen has, like, the final say at the end, but according to The Guardian, is that the Queen has initial say at the beginning, whether something's even discussed or not, to become a law.
Yeah, but this is just in Scotland, right? So you've heard of royal...
No, I think it's only that they found it. They've got sort of proof that it's in Scotland, but
So it talks in this article about the distinction between royal assent. So it's just the Queen sort of signing off, and that's like a matter of routine. She may as well have a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
And this thing, which they call Queen's consent, as opposed to royal assent.
Yes.
OK, and this idea is that she can actually modify stuff if it pertains to her private property. Or so, I mean, that's mad, right?
And the whole country's her private property.
Right, exactly. But
there was a saying... I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm just saying the article talks about how there were at least, well, The Guardian say there's at least 67 instances
in Scotland, but here it says since 1952 there's been 1,000 laws under the Queen's consent mechanism.
No, but does that mean that the Queen's lawyers have looked at the various bills?
It's exactly the same thing. It's Scotland, but across the...
I would like to know how many have the Queen's lawyers actively changed, have said, you need to change that?
There's no reason to suspect that they haven't changed all 1,000. If it relates to her property or whatever, yeah.
So here's an example. It says, last year the Queen's lawyers secretly lobbied Scottish ministers to change a draft law to exempt her private land from a major initiative to cut carbon emissions.
Yeah, so now her land is the only land in the country in Scotland where you don't need to build pipes anymore to save...
But this is incredible because the whole point of having a symbolic... head of state like the Queen, like the monarch, who doesn't actually have, isn't democratically elected. We've got Parliament to handle all that. But the idea that she could actually, we always thought of her as a figurehead, but if she's actually sort of, crossing the I's, dotting the T's, moving the documents around, I'm not saying she's doing it, but her team, that's a real problem, right?
Andrew, wake up. The Queen has power. Okay, the Queen is a somebody, and people in this country act like she doesn't do anything. It's chilling if this can be done in the beginning and at the end.
Well, someone says here it's an astonishing overturning of the widely held principle that the monarch does not legislate for her own benefit. There is a positive there, is that these 1,000 laws that they've looked at in the last 70 years or so are laws that relate directly to her and her land. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's not like she's passing legislation or checking on wider things about education.
I mean, were we better off when the monarch was in charge, back in the day?
But this is not an overturning, because this has been in existence forever. So,
yeah, no, that's right.
So it's not an overturning. That the fact the Queen is involved in this is the fact that our press is so inferior our press, the British press, is so inferior that nobody knows about this. And
The Guardian's reporting on it now.
It's a bit late.
I didn't know, and I was astonished by this. So anyway...